aspect of
Sorry.
Sorry.
the
Okay.
book resonated every aspect of what was going on between 60 to 70 in the military and the neighborhoods that you were talking about. As I navigated almost through every page, reliving what I had gone through and my experience during that time, since I was in the National Guard in the 60s, at the end of the 60s, and left the service in order to go into back to school, and how the Guard called me back right after advanced training. Every aspect was so accurate. This must have been an autobiography for you.
Autobiographical in the sense that I served in the military at that period. But now the book's really not, I mean, Cesar is not me. I mean, he's a amalgamation of some folks that I knew. And yeah, there's some parts of me in there. And certainly I experienced some of the racism that he experienced once he went into the Navy. And I too thought that it would be different in the military. But yeah, of course it wasn't.
You come from the neighborhood you were talking about as a young man?
I'd say that again, sir.
Did you come from the neighborhoods that you were talking about, and that you were so accurate as to what was going on in those neighborhoods and what was happening to the people in those neighborhoods that were growing up in those neighborhoods?
Yeah, I did grow up in the neighborhood of not Orlando. I'm from the Midwest, but yeah, I mean, luckily I never ran into a Mr. Mike, yeah. So, but yeah, it was challenging, certainly. And like I said, I thought when I went in the Navy that, yeah, well, things would be different, and no, they weren't. In some cases, they were worse.
Yeah.
And I suppose what really surprised me was the criminal element. Where I talk about the judge putting criminals in the Navy, that was really happening.
That was very accurate.
Yeah. So
my one big question. You think something like that could really have happened? That it's scary when you think about it, for young innocent people joining the Navy.
Yeah.
Well, it happened every single day when a person got caught with a minor crime. His lawyer would speak to the judge beforehand, because you couldn't have a record going into the Navy, and you couldn't owe any time on a sentence or anything, and you had to finish whatever was going on in the courtroom. So what they would do, as you did there, is the lawyer would speak to the prosecutor would have the judge talk to the young man, and they'd work out a system where they'd actually call in a recruiter into the courtroom to take him immediately from the courtroom after they made the deal. And that was so accurate the way you portrayed it. I couldn't think that you weren't there every time I did it myself.
Yeah, I'd say about a quarter of the boot camp class that I was in were in for minor drug offenses. So yeah, and it was happening.
Well, I want to just thank.
Hello?
Jamie, Jamie lost you. You're muted. Okay.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
First, I want to thank you for your service.
Oh,
that
thank
means
you.
a lot in our house. But as I read this book, I'm a daughter of a Vietnam Marine. I am the wife of a Air Force veteran from the Cold War, and my son is currently active duty.
Oh, okay.
This is the first time I read about the Navy. And I was shocked to think that you would actually be able to choose the location of basic training. I asked my husband, I said, did you get to choose? No. My father. Did you get to choose? No. Is that real in the Navy?
Back then, yes, they had 3 boot camps. They're down to 1 now, Great Lakes. But at the time, yeah, Great Lakes. And because they were allowing women into the military, they had a separate one in Orlando, which also had men and women. And then there was one in San Diego, which was a big training hub at the time. So yeah, the smart people chose in the recruiter's office, but those of us who were not smart like me ended up, Great Lakes, middle of winter.
Let me ask you, were they taking in people with minor offenses like that into other military?
Oh yeah, yeah, especially especially the Army, simply because they're shipped right to Vietnam after boot camp, so they really were having trouble with the recruitment at the time.
Mm. Yeah, I know the Vietnam War was. I remember the day they had the lottery, and my mother was doing a novena
Mhm.
because I had an older brother, and his number was too low. He knew he was never going to be called.
Oh, okay.
But my younger brother served in the Navy,
Hmm.
and for 24 years, he's
Oh,
retired.
goodness. Wow.
So I just text him because he likes to read also
Mhm.
about the book.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it was great.
It's very good. I have like 4 pages left
Okay.
in the book.
I won't spoil
It's
it.
literally on my lap because I have 4 more pages.
Okay.
And my husband has to read this. He's gonna love it.
Yeah.
I think, and my middle son, I think he's really going to enjoy it. And I think they would love it if it was made into a movie because it kind of reminded me of Fight Club.
Oh,
Like you
okay.
never knew when is something going to break out. And I
Mhm.
think they would love this book.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it would make a good movie.
Wouldn't it? The whole
I
story.
agree.
Mhm.
I mean,
Agree.
but the problem today is with, I hope we're not getting off track, but I happen to have a friend who's an author, and he's written a number of books. And if you ever saw the movie American Hustler, that is his book from first page to the end, verbatim. And but what the movie industries are doing is they're just stealing books.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just changed the names, and he never got a penny. And he's a lawyer also. He's
Oh,
suing them. He goes, I'll never get a penny, even though I'm suing them. But he said
Mhm.
that's what the movie industry is doing now.
yeah.
But it would make a great movie because, see, I would see that as a movie. It's not a book I would have taken out of the library, and I would have enjoyed the story,
Well, not that it's here or there, but I've written screenplays in the past, so
Yeah.
I am kind of visual.
Oh, wow.
So when's the sequel?
Well, right.
We want to know what happened to Ida and him.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's like he's getting off. He's arriving in San Diego. He's not even
Yeah.
going to have us get together with her.
Yeah, I am actually have an idea of writing a sequel. I'm
What's that?
taking a break for it right now, but I'm thinking about writing it from Ada's perspective rather than Cesar's. But yeah,
Okay.
but right now I actually am finishing a screenplay, not about this book, but a screenplay, and I've started my second book. So as I get through those.
What I found about the character Caesar,
Mhm.
I mean, it was great. It was like after a while, I felt like I really knew him, knew
Oh.
his thinking. And what impressed me about him was how determined he was to change
Mhm.
and how he was really making this great effort to
Mhm.
focus. And you were like really rooting for him,
Mhm.
It was really very heartwarming.
Oh, thank you. And guilt can be a major motivator. So he was feeling pretty guilty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you
Do you
get,
have social media handles? Because I didn't see them on the book.
They're on-
You mean like Twitter and
Yeah.
Instagram? Yeah, no, I mean, I'm on things like Facebook and Pinterest, but yeah, I've been told by my publisher I need to get on Instagram at the very least. So,
Yeah,
but
because
I'm
then
not
it's
yet.
shareable.
Okay.
I
Then it's shareable, and I would definitely recommend this. I don't know if you can see the room I'm in, but this is my daughter's home library.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're only seeing part of it, but this is our Zoom room also.
Hmm.
And we follow a lot of authors and illustrators, and we are a reading family. And this is definitely something I would have liked to have shared. And when I was trying to search it, I
Yeah.
couldn't find anything. So I thought maybe it was a pen name or something.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, no, I will definitely take that to heart and take some action on that.
I wrote
Thank
an email to the publisher this weekend. When I finished the book,
Mm-hmm.
I closed it and I was looking for a way to contact you. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know you were going to be in the Zoom today. I was wishing you would be. You know, I read the whole thing that the library provided us with, which was great. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole thing. And I was looking for a place to email you. So what I did was I wrote an email
Mhm.
to Akashi Books.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
they told me that they would pass on my email to the author.
You know,
Wrote me back.
now that you mention it, yeah, I see your name now, and yeah, they actually did. That was very nice of you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I guess they didn't forward my reply to you.
But well, I figured it would be, I knew it was a new book coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured, I said, you know, this might be better because it's going to the publisher. You know, that might be a good thing for him.
Yeah, and they're very good at passing things on, but apparently not passing things back. Yeah, but I thank you very much. That was very nice.
Oh, you're welcome.
So you said you started writing in 2016,
This book in 2016.
and how long did it take? And then how long did it take to get published?
I was done, and well, I had a book contract in 2019, so it was pretty much done at that point. And then, of course, it's took this long to get published because COVID, the pandemic, had a huge impact on small presses, so they had to slow down. And
Yeah.
so I just feel blessed to actually have gotten it published because so many small presses have gone out of business.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, I think that would be interesting for the sequel to be from Ida's perspective.
But a little more closure. A little more,
Yeah.
hey, did they end up together like
Yeah.
long term? You know, are we looking at a couple that's been married for 50 years or 60 years?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Give us a little more of the romance.
got it.
Happy ending.
I
Yes.
would like to
ending.
hear.
Well, I
Mr. Mike,
can't guarantee that. I mean,
I would like to hear Mr. Mike's description of the battle he had with Caesar after he got his jaw broken.
yeah. I'm sorry, say that again, sir. Was that a
I
question?
would like to hear the
Uh-huh.
description that Mr. Mike made after he got his jaw broken to the guys and afterwards when he came back to the ship about what had
Okay.
happened and why he was in this altercation with Caesar.
Oh, okay.
That would make an interesting story of all the lies he would be telling, because you always heard from the guy in the guys in the that were in the fights always had a story to
Oh,
tell,
yeah.
and both of them had a different story about what happened to the other guy,
Mhm.
to the people in their barracks, and they would never let the commander know what happened. It was always a private thing, and you did a
Yeah.
great job with that in 2 pages, I
Thanks.
thought.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Going to Vietnam, I'm like, I don't know if I can read that part. And well, they just turned the ship, he's like done with it,
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
good. I like that.
Yeah. Um, you know, even though the story was fiction, the people were fiction, but of course, that actually did happen to the Kitty Hawk, and that's kind of what led up to the riot. So, and which is this year's the 50th anniversary of the riot, and I just learned that it's also going to be the last year Kitty Hawk's going to be here. They're going to scrap her.
Wow, really?
Yeah, they
Where
sold.
is she now?
I'm not certain where she is right now. She was sold for 1 cent to a scrapyard.
Oh my God.
And
Oh, no.
as the taxpayer, that I didn't like that. I
That's
didn't like
awful.
the sound of that.
We should give pieces of the ship as souvenirs to the people who served on that ship.
That would be an excellent
Make
idea.
it a museum like the Intrepid, which we haven't gone to in 3 years because of the lockdowns. But
Mhm.
make it a teachable place for families and people to go to.
Oh, I agree. I actually went to a museum that I served on, the USS Lexington, which is in Galveston, Texas, as a museum. And she's in a lot better shape now than she was when I served on there.
I can't tell you how many parties I've been to on the Intrepid.
Amazing, right?
A big party venue. We had trade shows on it. I've been to New Year's Eve parties, all different parties.
And there's so much to learn.
Well, when the weather is nice, like from the spring to the fall, it's a great venue. People like, oh yeah, I want to go, on the Intrepid.
But years ago, on that February break when the kids are off from school,
Mm.
every day of the week was a different theme. We had sailors come, we had Marines come, we had astronauts come, all to the Intrepid. It was an amazing
Great.
week. It was a great way to spend time with the kids, hop on the train and go.
Mhm.
We don't have that luxury anymore.
Mhm.
But it's so sad to think that they're going to scrap a ship with so much history that
Yeah.
could be a living, breathing museum
Yes.
and keep
Especially,
history alive.
yeah, especially one with so much history. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm surprised they don't use a ship like that as even a school or a classroom,
Mm.
Yeah.
Navy or Air Force.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was the only ship of its class. No other aircraft carrier was like the Kitty Hawk. She was a one-ship class. So, yeah, there's a lot of history that's going by the wayside there.
That's a really
And she was the last oil-fired ship. After that, they
Mhm.
made them with nuclear energy.
That's correct.
What did you think about the plane that slipped off the aircraft carrier yesterday? Are they going to recover it? I mean, I would have thought that they had some way to get it before the Chinese were after it.
No, aircraft carriers are, even though they try to think of every scenario, but yeah, it was once a plane goes over the side, I mean, there really is no way for the ship to do it. I mean, they could send in a submersible or whatever, but yeah, now if the plane doesn't stay on the deck, no, there's really not a whole lot that they're going to be able to do.
Is that
Market.
common? I haven't heard of that before.
It happened yesterday.
Wow.
I just saw it on the news tonight, just before this Zoom started, and I said, wow, I'm thinking about aircraft carriers. And what he was thinking about, how these planes are landing and making noise, he can't sleep. And then that came up. As far as the training that you described, my father was a World War II veteran, and he was in the Signal Corps.
Okay.
And
Wow.
he hadn't graduated high school because he had pneumonia, and they decided he missed too many days, so they were leaving him back when he was 16. So he just quit school and left Brooklyn and went to Philadelphia, where he enrolled in some sort of electronics course. And then the war came on, and then they took him into the army and they sent him to Chicago with two Irishmen because he was Jewish. And he met J.P. Ryan and his friend, and they hung out in Chicago together where the army taught them calculus of all things.
Oh, wow.
Then they sent him out to California to the air base near Sacramento, and they said, he has a radio, fix it. And my father and the other two guys said, they just showed us calculus. We never touched a radio.
Mhm. Yeah. You know, it's interesting. My father kind of parallels that. He was in the Korean War, but yeah, he actually left high school to enlist, and he ended up getting his GED while he was in. But yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you miss about the military life?
Miss?
Yeah.
Not a lot. I mean, I was in for 30 years, so I pretty much experienced pretty much all that you can. And once you get that senior, I mean, they will just send you anywhere because they figured they got you. So yeah, but no, I mean, I missed the sunsets that you see on the ship. And of course, when you're in the Southern Hemisphere, those stars are different. So that was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
No, don't miss the 18-hour days.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine. Sure. Yeah. Big change. 30 years and then being out of service. Oh my
Yeah.
God. God bless you.
Yeah, it took me a while to slow down. Yeah, but I'm in the groove now. So
Now,
Now-
have any of the people who you served read your book? Have they commented on it?
yes, some have. And yeah, for the most part, those who are old enough to remember that time, yeah, they agree that it brings back memories. They thought that especially the boot camp was pretty accurate.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I don't remember when my brother was in boot camp. He was in the boot camp in the 1970s.
Yeah.
My boyfriend was in Paris Island. He was a Marine.
Yeah, okay.
Well, Andre, I was drawn to your book for two reasons. One, my father served in the Korean War, and I don't remember much about what he told me about his time there, but
Mhm.
the one thing that stood out was that when he was taking, I guess he was in the Army, right? So he was on a naval ship
Mhm.
to go to Korea, and what
Yeah.
he told me was that, you know, all the black guys were the ones doing the KP duty and garbage duty.
Mhm.
And, you know, when I saw the title of this, I thought to myself, this is something I need to read. And you cover that really well. Because my father told me that I guess they must have said something to their superiors, you know, and I guess it went nowhere. But, you know, he just couldn't see the point, and these are the only guys doing that type of duty.
Mhm.
And I thought you covered that well. And second, so I work in a large high school as a counselor, and it's a career-based school, and the kids get aviation maintenance licenses. So a lot of these kids will work on aircraft, either, you know, go into the Marines or Air Force. There's a lot of opportunity to work on planes. And, you know, Caesar being a 19-year-old kid, it was interesting to me to find how adult they suddenly, you know, had to be. You know, 18-year-old kid, they think that they have it all together, but you know, we know that they don't. I've also been to, I never served in the military, but I've been on educators tours, and I meet military recruiters all the time, and it's very interesting. I have a whole box of Navy pens on my desk for anybody to take. But I've been to Paris Island. The Marines run a fantastic educators tour.
Yeah.
And I saw every aspect of the training, and got to participate in some exercises and things. So it's just really interesting to get an insight, on what, it's one thing to graduate from boot camp. It's another thing, to really serve and see what people go through, how they transform into adults. They're kids. When I flew home from Paris Island, one of the recruits, was graduated, and he obviously was sitting with his family on the way home. And you could tell he just put his head on his mother's shoulder and he knocked out for the whole flight, and I'm sure he was 18. So.
Yeah. What I noticed was that you definitely either grow up or you get out. I mean, there's no in between there. So yeah, you have to grow up quickly, because strange, once you go in the military, they see you as an adult. They don't always treat you as like one, but they see you as an adult. And of course, being in the military is serious business. Just serving aboard a ship, even in peacetime, that's a industrial works area. So, I mean, you can be injured just walking around the ship and you didn't do anything. You just happen to be there.
Wow. What was the most remote place you were during the Navy?
I'm sorry?
What was the most remote place you went during the Navy?
I guess Diego Garcia. But I mean, I've been to Darwin, Australia, Bali.
Wow. Interesting.
We've been more places than I can think of right now.
Yeah. Wow. I'm sure you've been to the Persian Gulf.
Oh yes, multiple times, yeah. And I lived in Europe for a little while, and so I've seen both the Atlantic and the Pacific.
Yeah, but
What do you like better?
The Pacific, because there's more variety in the different ports of call. So yeah, I think my favorite was Hong Kong, which at the time, belonged to the British. And it was like walking around, there was like a clean New York City, except all the people had British accents. So, that was fun. I've been there a couple of times.
that's an interesting analogy.
I'm sorry?
I said that's an interesting analogy.
Yeah. Yeah, because that was a very sophisticated city. Though, like any other modern city, if you walk down a few blocks, you'd see folks living the way that they have been living for hundreds of years. Cooking what's probably dog or whatever on the street. But yeah, it was very interesting and enlightening.
Now, I noticed that you've written some short stories and poetry. How was it? Was it challenging? How do you feel after having written a book, your first book?
Well, that's kind of why I did it, was because I hadn't done that before. And I knew it was be challenging. And certainly there were some days where I was like, why am I doing this? But it's very different. Because I mean, there's no way that you can write it from A to Z. You have to take it in chunks. So that was interesting.
You spoke earlier about the plays that you wrote. Has any of them been performed or picked up, or?
Just I had one that was given a stage reading. So in that sense, performed in Valdez, Alaska. Of all places.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, writing plays is, I mean, it's all the same in that it comes from the same place, but some things come easier than others, and writing plays actually comes to me a little easier than writing a book. Just have to keep in mind when you're writing a book is like nobody knows what you're talking about unless you explain it, but you don't want to just tell them, you want to them to be able to visualize it. So
well, you did a great job with the book, with the visual.
Thank
with
you.
the visuals, definitely.
Yep, and Google, as I was reading it, gave me all the meanings that I didn't understand on some of those words.
Oh, good.
So
too.
I learned a lot of words.
Yeah, I tried to, you know, put the meanings in there, but yeah, there's too many acronyms and stuff, and you kind of drown in them when you first go in the military.
But I
Google
some
had
of
them
the,
all.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I say Google had them all, and when you do a DAP, you know, I know what that is now.
Okay,
There's
that's
a lot of
good.
good stuff I learned.
Educational. All right, good.
And there was quite a few Spanish words. So at least I have my husband or I did not let my daughter read the book. She's not ready for
Yeah.
it yet. But I was able to like point to a specific word and say, can you pronounce that for me?
Hmm.
Because there were a couple of, I call them Spanglish words where you know it's not an English word.
Right. Right.
And yeah, very well done. Very well done.
Thank you.
Yes, very well done.
Thank you so much.
Andre, let me ask you something. I was curious. Are you part Cuban?
I am not. This is a case of the character talking to me, and because
Okay.
originally he was from New York City, Hell's Kitchen or something, Italian, you know. But yeah, he said, no, I'm from Florida and I'm Afro-Cuban. So okay, let's roll with that.
Because when I saw the author's first name was Andre, I said, that sounds French. You know, this.
Yeah, it is French. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you didn't choose Hell's Kitchen because my family is very Irish, and my grandfather, who has long since passed, and a number of his brothers, I believe it was 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, all served in World War II, and then even my grandmother served as well. But then my grandfather and one of his brothers were actually sent in the same unit to serve in the Korean War.
Oh yeah, that's
Unit, and they were related?
Brothers.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, they tried to stop doing that after World War II because of the O'Sullivans.
Right.
There was like 5 of them, and they were
Yeah.
all on the same ship, and the ship was sunk. So
Mhm.
yeah, they tried not to do that after that.
But they had such a common last name.
Okay.
And, you know, they were grown men with their own families,
Mhm.
living in New York City. So I'm really, really glad you didn't choose New York City because I would have been reading this saying, wait a minute, Hell's Kitchen is all Irish. It's during,
Oh,
you know?
yeah. Uh-huh. Well, and you know, that's kind of when I heard the character tell me this, I actually, you know, went looked up the census information, etc. To okay, was there actually an Afro-Cuban community in Orlando during that time period? And there was. So
Mhm.
yeah.
That's what I believed it. I figured, you know,
Me too.
I believe that, sure.
Well, there was a big one in Miami, and
Yes.
still is. And I also like the fact that you brought in one of the Jewish guys saying, you know what, we're in trouble also, because
Yeah.
it's very true.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness.
What also was nice is you showed that everybody isn't typecast, and there were a lot of white people that helped him out.
Mhm.
You know, there were good people in every single race and nationality, and you just have to find the good ones somehow. You have to be lucky enough to find the good ones to help you out.
And you have to be receptive. I mean, I think I mentioned in the book is that the military is a reflection of society. And, you know, there's assholes in society and there's good people. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
These are good comments.
Yeah.
It's a good book.
It was very good.
Really? Yeah.
It was very, very descriptive. I mean, I didn't have any part of it that I didn't follow or I didn't quite get, you know, it was all very clear, well written.
Oh,
I'm
thank you.
surprised. I was very surprised halfway through it
Hmm.
that there wasn't a long list of books you've already written.
Oh, really? Oh,
too.
okay.
Me
Yeah.
too.
That was one thing I was surprised about because I
Mhm.
thought, I wonder what else this guy's written. And that's when I read this, started reading, you know, the notes that were put together for us, which were well done. And I said, this
Yeah.
written any other books? I'm surprised. He writes like,
But I was actually writing the whole time I was in the military as well, when I had the time, but certainly I would not have tackled a novel while I was serving. It was just no time.
well, you know, an interesting thing, if you're going to write a sequel or whatever, you may want to think about this, but
Mhm.
something that I think about often is that a lot of people who serve in the military, a lot of them really come out with PTSD. And
Yes.
I don't think it's spoken about
Enough.
enough, and it's not in the news and out there. You know how
Mhm.
certain things have really been brought into light, you know, like Michelle Obama really made awareness, obesity with children and things like that.
Mhm.
But PTSD has been spoken about, but I don't even think it's been touched because I think
Yeah.
it pretty much touches most people.
Yeah,
You know?
I retired in 2005, and at that point, the military still didn't really address it. It's only been in
Yes.
recent
You're-
history that they've
That's a
finally said, okay, there's a problem.
Yeah, that's a more current thing, like in the last 5, 8 years.
Right, right.
Not in the 70s, that's for sure.
Mhm.
You know, but anyway, that's something you may want to think about in your sequels.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, now we all need a sequel, and now we know we have to wait a really long time.
Okay, yeah, definitely
But what I'm
keep that in
interested
mind.
in is, Mamie, how did you find this particular book for us?
We get a lot of I get a lot of emails from all the publishers, and I scan through them and I see things that are interesting, and I write to them. I write to the publishers. This one seemed a little bit different, and I said, well, let's give it a shot, you know. Sometimes there will be duds and sometimes they won't. I am so happy this was not dud.
Not at all.
And
Well,
you know,
I'm happy that you got through to the publisher, because
yeah,
I really miss the like doing readings and discussions live with an audience it's a lot of fun. Yeah, so
But the gift of the pandemic has been social media. We've been so lucky to connect with authors and illustrators and professionals that you didn't think you were into. And for my daughter, she can only go to the one high school. For my sons, they grew up in New York City. So we had to go tour physically all the high schools till they chose where they wanted to go. But my daughter's been able to sit home and do college tours and actually, right. And you're doing all of this live, all of this virtual, right from your own home. So as bad as the pandemic was, and the lockdowns are horrendous in New York. However, the gift was social media because we get to connect with people like you.
yeah, I have to agree. Certainly there's folks that, I mean, I probably would not have come to your town because I actually hadn't heard of it before.
we wouldn't have been able to afford you anyway.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it's fun going to all these places, even if it is virtually.
Yeah. Well, we're like the first town outside of the New York City line.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yes. So we're all exposed to the city, have lived in the city or work in the city or have worked in the city, you know. So we're people that basically live out of the city that have more exposure to the city, you know.
Yeah, I've driven through New York a number of times, like on my way to New Command, like Rhode Island or somewhere. And yeah, one thing I noticed is it's kind of like LA. It doesn't matter what time you drive through, it's going to be socked in. It could be 2 in the morning.
Yep.
And it's like there's hundreds of people out there moving around.
And traffic.
And forget it if there's a Giant or a Yankee game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I am so glad that, your publisher connected us
Mhm.
and gave us an opportunity to read your book,
Mhm.
get to meet you. We will be, now that you're on our radar, we'll keep an eye out for your next book.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yes.
Definitely.
What,
Go ahead.
what age group do you think you're gonna like market this book to? Like, I think it was Jane said her daughter's too young, but I think that some of the kids in high school maybe should read something like this,
Mhm.
because they're used to all the curses. I mean, that's nothing
Maybe
new these days.
sell them to the recruit offices.
Yeah, yeah, they're probably a little more creative with the profanity nowadays. But yeah, I actually let the publisher worry about who this was going to be for. My main goal is always to write a good story that's interesting.
Mm.
And if it's publishable, thank God. And if it's not, oh well. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, the real point is to write a good story.
Did you have to do a lot of re-edits then, or?
Oh yeah. There's some people who can do like 10 drafts and they're done, but I'm not one of those people. So I actually stopped counting after draft 15, just because it was depressing. So just kept going.
Well, Mamie is teaching me all the ins and outs of Microsoft 365.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, do you use that? Because she knows all the secrets about revisions and how you can make copies and share it with people. Did you get technically involved with all that?
Yeah, well, you work with an editor, and I was blessed to have a really good editor. Because what you want in an editor is to have someone that help you say things more clearly, but they don't change your voice.
Okay.
Yeah, my editor was a lot like that. Yeah. So I would get good feedback from her, but I also sent it out to some writer friends, and had an agent who really liked it, but he was retiring. So that didn't go anywhere. But yeah, it's, I got a lot of good feedback from different people, and sometimes I agreed with it and sometimes I didn't. So
I was surprised to see that it was already available as an audiobook.
yeah, and that was a lot of fun. Once the publisher told me that, hey, Audible wants to pick this up, so I actually sent an audition tape in. Just
What I find interesting is that the people I know who use audiobooks are all men. They listen to them while they're driving to work.
right, yeah, amazing.
It's interesting, but everybody I know who does audiobooks, it's all men. Whereas women like to read more so, I find. Or I guess it's like, usually one or two of the men have said to me, otherwise I don't have time to read.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
I found it. I found the Facebook post so I can share the book.
Okay.
I found it.
Andre
Thank you, I
actually
appreciate it.
narrated his own book.
Mhm.
He's the narrator on Audible.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
That's great.
Wow.
Yeah, I was pretty excited, and it was a lot of fun.
Oh, sure, of course. Doing the audio of your own book, that's a great idea. You have a good voice too. I mean,
Oh, thank you.
that helps, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, you have one of those radio voices, like you think you're in the car and you're listening to the news, you have one of those and you enunciate every word, like we can get everything you're saying.
Yeah.
It's great.
Thank you.
My
Yeah,
daughter just did an audiobook because she was trying to get through a book, and she's like, I can't do this. I got to go back to reading it. And she normally 99% of the time she reads, but when some of she's 14 going on 40, but some of the vocabulary is a little challenging sometimes when you don't know how to pronounce it. So she relies on audiobooks, which was a suggestion from one of the librarians at the Valley Stream Library. And she was like, this guy's going to put me to sleep. She was reading John Steinbeck's The Pearl.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like, oh, I can't do this, Mom.
Mhm.
I need to read the actual paper book.
Yeah, it's I mean, you know, that's a different kind of challenge. But yeah, you know, of course, Audible has done this thousands of times, so working with them was really
That's excellent.
seamless.
That's excellent. So then I can tell my husband, you don't even have to read it. You could just listen to it.
Yes. Well, thank you for sharing everything with us. Is any of the last comments? You know, I don't want to keep them too late. He's in Portland, Oregon,
Yeah.
right?
Wow, place to be.
Wow.
Good for you.
So
Well, yeah,
actually, it's earlier for him than it is for us.
yeah, yeah.
Well, again, thank you for your service.
Oh, but thank you.
And we look forward to book 2 and try and get some social media pages going so it's easy to share.
Okay.
There's
definitely do
a
that.
lot of Andre Carters on Facebook.
There is, which is why I put my middle name in there, because
That was
yeah,
smart.
I Googled Andre Carter, and yeah, all these people came up. So yeah,
Yeah, I noticed. I did the same thing, and I said, "Good thing he has Lewis in there."
yeah.
Yeah, well, I was able to. I found it now. When I looked on the weekend, I couldn't find it, so I did just
Okay.
share it. And yeah, great
thank
read.
you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate all the feedback. I mean, it's
It was
really
just
helpful.
a
You know,
great
it'll be
fun
you'll
book.
be percolating in the back here as I continue to write.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm
Thank you.
going to let
Thank
the
you.
group know. We do, Andre, we meet every month, or try to meet every month. So the next book we're reading is, where did I do with it? Oh, I put it down someplace. It's called The Way of the Flesh. It was recommended by Irving. It's a thriller. So you should be able to pick up that book next week, the beginning of next week. And then, you know, I as I say, I reach out to a lot of authors. I try. Sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no. And in March, we're going to be talking to Marie Benedict.
Oh.
She's the author of The Other Woman, The Only Woman in the Room. And we'll be discussing her new book, Her Brilliant Genius.
Yeah, this is a great program you guys have going here. It's
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
So, you know, we mix it up. Sometimes it's just a straight book talk. Sometimes we can get an author. It's you know, that is, as Jane said, the good thing about Zooming and social media, because, you know, we couldn't afford to fly out to Valley Stream from Portland, you know. And we've had an author that was in England in negotiations or talks with someone who's in the Netherlands.
Cool.
So it's sometimes it's a little hard to manage all the time zones. So
Mhm. Although it's great though.
Well, what's good
I've
is,
really enjoyed this.
yeah. Well, what's great is, you know, the book club really, if you love to read, it really gets you to read some books and subjects you otherwise never would have.
Out
Yeah.
of your comfort zone.
Maybe that, you know, I never would have read this book,
Mhm.
you know.
great.
I really, really
Thank you.
appreciate
And I
guys
know your
doing
wife is on. Tell her have a good
Yes.
day too.
it. I will.
Okay. And we will be in touch, you know, especially if we see another book out there. Okay.
Hey, all right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you all.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
And all my book club members, I will be in touch with you as soon as the book is ready for you to pick up. And then is to say, you know, I'm working a new book that just came out, was released today. It was called let me see, it was by Fiona Davis. brand new. It just came out today and I contacted her. She's very busy, so we'll probably be seeing her in September. I'm trying to remember
Okay.
the title, but you know, the authors are in the same boat as we are. They're in lockdown. They like to see their audiences. So many of them are very generous with their time.
Yeah.
And we've been lucky. We've been lucky.
Yeah. It's very interesting when you get to speak with the author. I love that.